So good day, we're learning Kuntres Acharon, essay number 7. We're using lessons in Tanya on page 377. We learned yesterday there's 3 meanings to the word Ason. And that's because the beginning of the essay starts with the pasuk in Amos, Utzdaka kenachal Ason, and charity is like a mighty river. So he takes apart this verse in connection to charity, and he says that Ason has 3 meanings: vigor, toughness, resilience, and old. And he said that the Yud is Chochmah, and it has 3 parts to it. And by the way, Moshe, I spoke to someone who's very knowledgeable in Chassidus, and he didn't have an answer because these are sections that most Bacher and most people don't learn and don't analyze because it's so difficult, Kuntres Acharon. And he doesn't, I guess, know Kabbalah thoroughly, so I'm going to try to put a call into a Kabbalist. Not a Kabbalist, someone who knows Kabbalah, to see if he can make heads or tail of this issue. But be that as it may, we're learning this idea here. So let's continue learning the bottom of page 377. The letters that spell the Hebrew word Ason indicate the future tense. At a deeper level, this term, not top of 1378, at a deeper level, this term thus hints at future revelation. In the time to come, Mashiach will come, there will be a revelation of the spiritual degree called Asa, Pirush. Ona osid lizgalia, I am destined to reveal myself. That which is presently concealed will be revealed in the time of Mashiach. As it says, in a Yaskil Avdi v'goymer, behold, my servant will prosper. In other words, in the future, in Mashiach Kavahainu. She is Galeos, Oiris of Baruch Hu, V'Yehude is Baruch, Toich Pnimi is Nekudas Alev. At the time when Mashiach will come, the servant will prosper. Means that the infinite Ein Sof Baruch Hu and divine unity will be revealed within the innermost point of one's heart. And how will that happen? By calling forth, quote, the mighty river. This is the idea of the shining, the radiance of the supernal wisdom, that will illuminate the pnimius of the heart. Causing a person to be completely, utterly nullified to Hashem, from the depths of his heart. After what's been cleared and removed, that was obscuring the Gilui, the revelation, what's called the Arla, the physical lusts, and so on. Right? That's why we have Mila Upriya. The cut is the Mila, and then the Priya is the pulling back of the skin. Why? Because the idea of the Priya is the covering up of the Mila, because that's the idea of the taivas that cover up on the gilui, the gilui shouldn't take place. Let's look at the note of 379. When the metaphorical orla, that is literally the foreskin, will then be will then be removed, as the verse says, and you shall excise the orla of your heart, and likewise the Lord, your Hashem, your God, will circumcise your heart. Nothing will hide the innermost core of the heart. It will then be possible for the heart to experience, the utter self-nullification of the neshama to Hashem, that derives from the revelation of Chochmah. The essential soul level reflects all 3 above-mentioned connotations of Eitan, the resolute vigor of the soul's essence, its unwavering toughness, and the antiquity of this bequest to the Jewish people from the patriarchs of old. So in other words, we have a blockage. The blockage is the orla, the foreskin. And the foreskin, in the spiritual sense, doesn't allow the flow from Chochmei Lo, from the Nekuda, to come into Bina, to the heart. And that's really what happens to all of us when we learn and we study and we understand, but we don't feel. We're not motivated, whether it be with Ava Hashem, or love to God, or Yiram Hashem, or from of Hashem. We're not moved. What happened? There's a blockage. The blockage comes from the Taivas Gashmi. So the Alter Rebbe says that in time of Mashiach, those Taivas Gashmi will be removed. That's one of the results of Mashiach, is that whether you like it or not, you're not going to have a Taiva for Gashmias. Not that there won't be Gashmias. There'll be Gashmias. But the Taiva won't be there for it. The lust, the desire, right? That won't be there for it. Hine Ato, says the Alter Rebbe, thank you very much, but we're living now, not in Mashiach's time, not yet. In Mitzvah Hashem, very soon. Hine Ato, at present, Begolus HaChol Hazeh, during this exile, Yesh Gamkin Eitze Yehutza. You hear? Isn't the Alter Rebbe says, I have advice for you, I have an Eitza. Yes, Moshe.
Dalfin, when you say that in the last level, we're talking, I don't know, Tanya Mashiach, that we're not going to, that the taiva for Gashmias is going to be removed. I'm trying to understand, trying to relate to it, what you just shared, and the only thing I can come to is how, like, today it seems, I'm going to make a general statement, that the taiva for Avodah Zarah is not present.
Right.
Is there any connection? Like, for example, like, why is it that there isn't essentially a time? We see that Am Yisrael doesn't have a time really for Avodah Zarah anymore for a long time.
Well, that's because two things. One thing is we have, in a sense, proven intellectually that Avodah Zarah is a bunch of nonsense. In other words, through the generations, from the Rambam, I mean, whatever, all the Rasag, the Svarim HaKadoshim, the Kuzari, the Svarim HaKadoshim have provided for Klal Yisrael a platform to intellectually come to the conclusion. I'm making a generalization to answer your question. That Avodah Zarah is nonsense. Intellectually, that a stone ain't going to answer you. Okay? It's not a living thing. Number two, that's what I believe is one of the reasons, simply on a cultural level, a practical level, and a real level that's on the ground. The second thing is that since there's been such a plethora of godly revelation and miracles, and as we look at our own history, and as Isser said in the beginning before we started the shir, the Nisim, to focus on the Nisim, so automatically it weakens the idea that idolatry is antithetical to God. So when you feel more God, you feel less idolatry. And thirdly, it's brought in the Svarim as well that Hashem removed the taiva for Avodah Zarah. I don't know if it's a good comparison, but you could say, like, I don't know, we have a doctor here, but in my simple thinking, Hashem removed the COVID death sentence that existed for a few years, or at least seemed like it existed. And now, you get ill, but, basically it's not that level. In other words, there are zmanim, there are periods, I really believe this, that in our life, in our history, not just for the Jewish people, for the world at large, where Hashem gives certain things, and there's times when he takes it away. And when he takes it away, then it no longer is an issue. So that would be, but that's as far as Avodah Zarah. 1 second, Hillel. There's plenty of taivas left, Moshe, first and foremost, money, honor, pleasures. You know, those types are real. So when you ask when Mashiach will come, they won't be there. Well, the Rambam writes that Madanim Ka'ofa, that the material matter of life, all the items of Gashmias will exist, but they'll be so plentiful that there won't be a taiva. When do you have a taiva? You know, basics, economics 101, right? You don't have the item, it becomes more expensive. When you have plenty of the item, it's not expensive, everyone has it. So when Mashiach will come, there'll be a Gilui of Elikus, godliness will be revealed, so there'll be such godliness that everything else becomes secondary, unimportant. Yes, Hillel.
Well, for a few things, a comment and a question. There's a very explicit chazal in the Gemara in several places that the chazal got together and they had the kofos to mevatel the Yetzer Hara for avodah zarah. That's the way I understand that. That it wasn't like we outgrew it or mankind evolved in some way. The Chazal had the koach to mevatel it in terms of what it existed as a koach. But that leads me to a question. I think it was in yesterday's Hayom Yom, where the Rebbe talks about how the Yetzer Hara evolves and could present itself sometimes as a physical lust, but sometimes it can be some of the more subtler lust you talked about it, and even a lust appeared as a certain to appear as ruchnias, to appear a certain way to people. So the Gemara talks in Sukkah about how the Yetzer Hara is constantly evolving. So what I'd like to understand, what the question that comes up in my mind from this. From the idea that the Chazal were mevatel, the Yetzer Hara for avodah zarah, is does that mean that the Yetzer Hara's capacity to evolve in avodah zarah was altered, was changed, where like the avenue of being able to grow in that direction was changed? Because we see that, as you say, there's still quite a Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara is still active.
Get me the citation, if you can, in the Gemara, and Al Shabbos, I need to look at the Gemara and look at the Mefarshim before I can talk about it. I can't talk about it intelligently. Yes, sir.
Just briefly, because we're going far afield from the text. But the Gemara also says that the Chazal tried to mevatel the Yetzer Hara for immorality, and they had to reverse it because the chickens weren't laying eggs.
Yeah.
So I don't know about this concept of evolving Yetzer Hara, but there's certainly the concept that the Yetzer Hara can take on different aspects for different people, and it can even look, with the long white beard and a hat and a long black coat. The Yetzer Hara can make somebody think that an Aveira is a mitzvah.
That reminds
and that's also a problem.
Right. That reminds me of the saying of the Mittler Rebbe. I brought it in one of my books. He says, "What do you think Esav was? Someone with a sash, a hunter with a rifle? He was a chassid with a streimel and a gartel." Okay.
We have sort of the opposite of that around here, because they just republished some of the writings of the Harebi Achalutz, who and there's some great pictures of him, Rabbi Shapira's grandfather, I think, or great-grandfather. The pictures of him with a bandolero and a rifle over his head. So.
I was looking. Someone interviewed my son-in-law, who's in the Miluyim now. And he came back for a day, or I don't know, to Tel Aviv to his family. So they some program, I forget, I can send it to you, interviews him, and it just hit me. he looks like such a chassid. He is. I'm saying, a short haircut with a full beard, wearing the uniform with the gun. It's like, and I'm saying to myself, and he's talking about this idea because they ask him, "You're a rabbi, you're a Chabad rabbi in Tel Aviv. What are you doing? What are you doing over there?" And he said he decided that for Am Yisrael and for Chabad and for the Rebbe and for everyone else, this will make a big Kiddush Hashem, and it is. It is. I wouldn't do it. I couldn't do it, but I wouldn't do it if I could. But he did it, and it's very humbling for me. It's very humbling. Someone goes into the army and comes out, not looking the way they went in when they went in from a yeshiva or a kollel or a marriage and, whatever. But when you see someone who went in and with the saying, okay, and he's married, he has children, Baruch Hashem, he's a father, he's a 40-year-old man, you know what I'm saying? But it's just, you were talking about this idea of the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara comes to everyone. In other words, the garbs you wear doesn't prevent the Yetzer Hara from being there, okay? As we all know. Anyway, we got to get back to the text, or we can bring another time. Let's go. So the Alter Rebbe says, what is the solution to access to this fire in the neshama, to feel it in the heart, and to not have the blockage? He says, Yesh gam kein eitze yeutze. That's a very strong, language. It doesn't say just Hillel eitze once. It says eitze yeutze, which means this is like advice of advisors. In other words, listen carefully. Lahoyer tzah soir Hashem, that there be some illumination of the light of God, mibchinas eson, from the level of eson that we discussed, letoich de kodesh pnimis halev, ke'ein le'osid, which will be similar to what will be in the future. Ke'ein also means not similar, but somewhat like. Okay? Ke'ein means Hillel. It's somewhat like. It's not Mashiach's time. So to have it the way it will be Menashe during Mashiach's time, it ain't happening till Mashiach comes. But Ke'ein, somewhat like. He says, V'hainum, al yidei shema'oider al nitzutz alikush benafshoy b'chinas rachmim rabim el yoinim. You will feel it by arousing upon the spark of your soul the idea of mercy, abundant mercy from above. So the Alter Rebbe is calling upon rachamim. You need to evoke mercy. Rachamim Rabbi Moshe. Abundant mercy. Hashem, have pity and mercy on my soul, that I learn and I daven and I know and I feel nothing. And that idea to take it to the highest of high. And he says, Ki b'yemes, because in truth, Kol zman shein odem zeiche, she is galoy Hashem, mibchinas eisem mirkudas pimis lavavoi, as long as a man doesn't merit, top of next page, 380, to the radiance to reveal the light of of God in a manner of Eson within the heart, causing the person to be nullified to God, from the depth of his heart, to the point where the person has expiration of the soul. So that it takes mercy, Rachmanis, calling upon mercy. Hashem should have mercy on your soul, that you should feel it. Azai be'emes yesh Rachmanis gedola. Then, not then. It's truly a pitiful and merciful, a great mercy on the spark within your soul. The spark comes from the state of supernal wisdom. And when it cannot illuminate from its level into the inner recesses of the heart, Shesham Mokim Gilei Harazu. Over there is the abode of this revelation. Hadizim Golus Mamash. Guess what? The Nitzutz is in Golus. It's in a tunnel in Gaza, and it can't get out. So by evoking supernal mercy, it leaves exile and captivity. And then it does shine within the innermost reaches the heart. This abundant love. As is known, next page 381. And Masha Kosov, and this is a very important verse to know and to understand, it says in Yeshaya Yaakov to Jacob, Asher Podes Avram, for Jacob who redeemed Avram. So here's the question, Benashe. Avram is Chesed. Yaakov is Tiferes, is Rachamim. Right? Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes. How can Tiferes release Avram? Either you got it, the love in your heart, or you don't. This isn't like choosing, either you feel it or you don't. So what do you mean? Yaakov redeems Avram. So Chassidus explains precisely this is the meaning. There are times when Chesed, attraction and love, doesn't motivate you. You just don't you don't feel it. You're not attracted. You don't have the love. But in that situation, where there should be a love, an attraction, a feeling, it's there, but it's captured. It's in Golus. So it takes Yaakov, which is Rachamim, that's what he's teaching us here, to release Avram. In other words, is this logical? Not really, right? Please have mercy on me. Why should I have mercy on you? If you don't feel it, obviously, you either haven't worked hard enough or whatever. You have a blockage. When we say Yaakov Asher Podes Avram, we're saying that even if you have a blockage, you hear psychologists and social workers, even if you have a blockage, through Rahmanis, through evoking mercy from God on the highest and deepest level, it will remove the arla, the foreskin, and you will feel. Try it. It works. But you really have to evoke the mercy. It doesn't come, like I've said many times, from eating pizza and ice cream. It doesn't work that way. I just read, I just browsed on an article. Someone wrote, God, what are you doing? Where are you? I believe in you. But, COVID, October 7th. Now, this situation, it's like, so if you are a complainer, a chronic complainer, you're not going to get anywhere. But if you do what Isser did before we began this year, and to focus on the positive and the miracles, and to really ask God to have mercy. This is not, mercy, it's in a way, I'm uncomfortable with mercy because it makes me vulnerable. In other words, I'm stuck. I can't get out. So my natural tendency is to say, I don't want to be in a position of mercy because why can't I do it myself? What am I, a schlepper? What am, and the answer is, it's not you. It's the state of being that the world is in Golus. There's a hell and a Hester. Mashiach is not here. And Hashem wants us to evoke the mercy. That's part of the Avodah. In other words, this is the way to look at mercy. It's not a number 2 tier, it's number 1. Mercy is on par, Moshe, with Chesed and Gevura. Just as when Chesed is needed and Gevura is needed, we are very happy to approach it. So too with mercy. Approach it not with, oh, you're a nebuch. You understand? I'm a nebuch. I'm a nebuch, and therefore have mercy on me. Like Rabbi Yeshua Gordon, Josh Gordon, of blessed memory, would told me when I discussed with him once my situation with my congregants and then the fundraising and whatever. So he said, tell them, if they want to have gefilte fish on Shabbos at the Kiddush, they got to pay for it. Otherwise, there's no gefilte fish. You're getting a kichel and a little chayim, and that's it. Why am I saying that? Because he said to me, you shouldn't be looking at your need to raise funds for the shul and for Chabad, etc., as I have to do this, but really I don't want to do it. He says, no, you have a mitzvah to do it. To get another Jew to give tzedakah, you have a mitzvah. And be proud of it. In other words, don't say, I need gefilte fish. Maybe you can help me. No, you say, you want gefilte fish, right? Well, if the bill is not paid for the jar of gefilte fish to have it in the refrigerator, there's no gefilte fish. Finished. It's your choice now. You either buy it, pay for it. Just the attitude. The attitude isn't, I'm a sucker. I'm broken. I'm shattered. No, you go with koyach. So when we talk about Rachmanis, I'm saying this, when we talk about evoking mercy from HaKadosh Baruch Hu on our neshama, that we don't have the feeling and he should take away the blockage and let us feel, we're not nebuchs. We're doing what Hashem wants. Hashem wants us and needs us to evoke the Rachamim, because Rachamim is very, very powerful. I don't want to go into a whole discussion here, but Rachamim is in a way more powerful than Chesed itself and Gvur itself. Okay, we'll talk about this next week in B'Tz Hashem. But Chevre, it's Shabbos Shlach. It's a week left or so to Gimel Tammuz, the Rebbe's yahrzeit. So start thinking about it, talking about it, farbringing about it. And B'Tz Hashem, hopefully by Monday we come back to the Shir, there'll be an end to this war and the enemy will be destroyed. And we'll have only Shalom Shalva, and all those that were injured will have a refuah shlema taken from the Yad Mamish. And we'll be able to sit in peace and not have to run to bomb shelters. My heart, I feel so guilty. It really, it's like, here we are and life is just going on.
My daughter-in-law sent out a great joke. She said, because there've been a lot of sirens that we have not had of late. So she said it out. It reads like this: the Rabbah Shemesh may be experiencing fewer sirens because Iran is seriously considering Trump's warning that the U.S. would intervene if American soil is targeted. Very good. Very good.
Have a great Shabbos, Chevra. Take care. All the best.
Yeah.
Take care. Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos.